Okay, at 6 p.m., we'll call the meeting to order, and I do want to remind all the council members, go ahead and pull your microphones up because we got a complaint from the audience before the meeting, and they wanted us to remind everyone to speak into the microphone, okay? So people at home can hear it. If we will, let's all rise and we'll say the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Whaley, will you lead us in both?
Heavenly Father, we come to you today and ask for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community for this wonderful town, Blue Ridge. We thank you for the country that gives us freedom, the state that makes it possible for us to have this community and this group. And we just ask you to bless our town and our deliberations. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3 is approval of minutes from previous meeting, and I'm assuming everyone's had the chance to look over them. Do I have a motion to approve July the 13th, 2023 council?
So
meeting?
moved.
Okay, second? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. July the 31st, 2023 special called meeting. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Okay. Do I have a
Second.
Okay. If you're in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Special call meeting, August the 3rd, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve August 3rd special call meeting minutes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay, the next item is approval of agenda or motion to amend the agenda. Do I have a motion for either?
So moved.
To accept it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0, it passes. Okay, the next portion of the meeting is public hearings, and the first thing is the second reading, an ordinance to amend offenses for noise, and this is for the city of Blue Ridge to regulate live amplified music on outdoor patios at breweries, wineries, and distilleries. And do you guys have anything you'd like to say about that, Eric?
Since the last meeting and based on discussions, we added that one section that we would extend it to holidays and days of city-recognized festivals as well.
Okay. So do we have any public comments? We'll open it up for public comments. If you have a comment, come up to the microphone, state your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Brandon Mathis. I just want to know if restaurants might be included or might be amended in that, because to me that's discrimination if it's not. Has anybody thought about that?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Okay, is there another public comment? Okay.
Tim Hampton, Tipping Point Brewery.
Speak into your microphone.
I'm sorry. There was mention in 2 different meetings of extending that from 150 feet to 250 feet. Was that discussed any further? No consideration moving it past the 150-foot limit?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, any more public comments?
Hello, I'm Cesar Martinez. This ordinance is a reflection of what's been going on with some of the ordinances in this town from a while now, and that is you're making ordinances that are laughable. To say that you can't have amplified music that can be heard 150 feet away is like saying you can't have amplified music. Why don't you just come out and say you can't have amplified music? Because to say you can't hear it 150 feet away is ridiculous. So just be honest. If you don't want to amplify music, just say it. Thanks.
Okay, do we have any further public comments? Okay. I think two of you are coming up at the same time. Okay.
Donna Thompson. My question, which won't be answered, is my concern for the restaurants, because it seems like that you're putting something in motion for one group that is a financial hardship potentially for another group. So you're allowing it for the breweries and wineries and distilleries, but the restaurants, you say no. My concern, again, is just the financial hardship that you put them under, because the wineries and distilleries and breweries can have the music. That gives them the benefit of drawing customers there, and it draws them away from the restaurants. So it's just a financial burden, a financial hardship for them.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I want to thank you for having me. The First Amendment of the Constitution has 5 main points: the freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. Specifically, the right of the people to petition the government for a redress of grievances, and we have some redressing to do here. The sound quality on the recordings of these meetings is garbage. You can barely hear anything. Go listen to any one of them. All the sound is amplified into that PV amp and then picked up from a microphone out in the parking lot. I've seen homeless performers on the street with better audio setups than this. The city brings in millions every year, and y'all have a proposed pay and benefits of over $120,000 this year. You would think we could get an adequate recording of what is going on here. Angie, thank you for bringing to light the mayor's misdeeds. I'll get to that in a second, but first, you need to stop being so disrespectful and talking over Rhonda during public meetings. Rhonda, we got a few points to go over here. You need to stop being so disrespectful and talking over Angie. We don't need tongue-in-cheek comments during public meetings. Y'all are cackling back and forth like a couple of hens. My mom says, act like you got some sense, and that's a good piece of advice for you too. As for the matter of y'all influencing whether your property gets rezoned or not, that seriously needs to be investigated, maybe by law enforcement. Let's talk about the threat. You tried to milk that for everything you could. I was watching the July 31st episode with my speaker turned at max volume because you can't hear anything, and I had to go get some popcorn to finish. Rhonda drops a bombshell that one of my biggest mistakes I've made is not vetoing the last round of ordinances. And I'll tell you why I didn't. I was threatened to be removed from my position, and that's very sad. The people would do that, threaten to have me removed if I vetoed this, and I didn't, and I regret that more than anything. That's 3 times she said she didn't veto the ordinances for everyone counting at home. Later, this nice gentleman on the left asked about how many members it takes to remove you. He thought 5. You corrected him and said, no, it just takes 3. We got an email. It was later that night I realized the threat was 5 city council members voting to remove you by a legal vote during a city council meeting televised to the public. The threat was the government doing its job. During the August 3rd episode, Rhonda started saying things you never want to hear from a politician, like there are no self-serving actions here, and that is the truth with the same convictions as Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. She was then asked about vetoing the last round of ordinances. She replied, 2R3. Angie asked if Rhonda vetoed the council's zoning changes in April. Rhonda replied, I think we all know that I did that, completely contradicting what she said 3 days earlier. We're used to politicians and the government lying to us. Just get your story straight. We really don't need another Donna White or Nathan Fitz situation. Don't talk about your lawyers during a public meeting. It's a really bad look. Thank you.
Let me remind everyone, this is a public hearing on this particular ordinance, so if you have anything to say, I did not want to interrupt him, but if you, this is, and you can speak at the public comments at the end of the meeting with any other comments, but this one does pertain specifically to this ordinance, so, okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. Council, are you ready to vote? Do I have a motion?
Angie?
Are we ready?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Are you
get
trying
my-
to find it?
I'm trying to get my I'll make a motion to pass ordinance BR 2023-18.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Dr. Whaley? Angie?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Okay, the next ordinance is an ordinance to amend animals of the Code of City of the Blue Ridge to allow for backyard chickens, and to provide for the regulation thereof, to provide for an effective date. Eric, do you have anything you'd like to add?
There's no other changes since the first reading.
Okay. Again, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to come up and speak on this matter only, chickens, regulation, animals? Okay. I believe we've had ample opportunity to discuss it as well, so do I have a motion?
I move approval.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's have a roll call vote. Dr. Whaley? Yes. Angie?
Yes.
Jack?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Christie?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. The next ordinance is an ordinance to amend Chapter Administration, Article 3 of the Departments and Boards Commissions. I will let you go over that a bit, Eric, if you don't mind, or Chuck.
If you recall, in our amendments to the zoning ordinance, we have done away with the Board of Zoning Appeals. However, in another portion of the code, there are still references to the Board of Zoning Appeals, so this is more or less a housekeeping ordinance in that regard, to eliminate references to the Zoning Board of Appeal, or Board of Zoning Appeals, and those other portions of the ordinance. There are a few changes as it relates to the Planning Commission, similarly to reflect changes that have been made to the zoning ordinance. For example, variances no longer go before the Planning Commission, they come directly to you guys. We changed one provision to reflect that the Planning Commission meets basically on an as-needed basis, but similarly just kind of a housekeeping ordinance in that regard.
This is a public hearing, so would anyone from the public like to speak? Okay, council, do I have a motion?
Go ahead, Doc.
I move approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Well, actually, we're not, we're doing a roll call vote. Dr. Whaley? Yes?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Jack? Christie?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. Have you all had the chance to review it? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion to
Approve it.
approve it, okay.
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 Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Angie?
Yes.
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 And Bill?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Okay, the next item is a resolution for the city of Blue Ridge to dissolve the Downtown Development Authority, and this is actually a discussion, an action item, but is there going to be discussion on this? Or do you guys have, this isn't a public hearing, this part. This is,
not.
no, this is discussion between the council, if you, or action.
I make a motion to adopt resolution NO 2023-17 to dissolve the DDA.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote on this. Dr. Whaley?
I would like to.
Or we can have discussion before if you,
Okay, I'm sorry.
would you like discussion after the second? We have a
Yeah,
second, we can
but
discuss.
Now that it's on the table, I'd
Okay.
like to.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that Bill Whaley, doesn't really know or appreciate what the Downtown Business Association should do. I've pulled up the Georgia Municipal Association materials and submitted them to the city council. And it's clear from those that what they can do in the 2 years we've been here, they haven't done. Secondly, the city is aware and the audience is aware that the reports that we have received from the DDA have been sort of rancorous and critical, and that there has been some inaccurate information that has been brought forward as if it were fact. And so I am perfectly willing to go and take a course on the DDA and come back to this again at a future point in time. And for that reason, I'm going to abstain from voting.
Okay. So you're going to abstain. Does anyone else have any discussion before we continue the vote? Okay. We'll start with you then, Angie. There's a motion and a second on the table, so do you vote to?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Jack?
Yes.
Christie?
Abstain.
Okay.
Yes.
And, okay, so motion passes 3-0. Or 3. Yeah. Okay. The next item is discussion and possible motion of mayor to veto the ordinance that we've been discussing. And Amy, I've asked her to read it so she can present it to the council, to the public, and then you guys can discuss and vote.
With a limited housing supply and increasing
Amy.
demand,
Speaking to your mic.
sorry. With a limited housing supply and increasing demand for workforce housing, our city is already grappling with affordability issues. By restricting the number of units that can be built within high-density areas, we risk exacerbating the problem. High-density zoning regulations enable the construction of more affordable housing options, catering to a broader range of income levels. Preserving these regulations will help ensure that our city remains accessible and inclusive for all residents regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds. To begin, Councilwoman Arp made a comment at the first reading of Ordinance BR 2023-20 on July 31st, 2023, that the reason she spearheaded the effort to reduce density was because she had a few people contact her about reducing it. Before we make such a drastic change, I recommend that the City Council engage in conversations with these people in addition to others who have advocated for density to remain the same. I'd ask Ms. Harp to also give us names so that we can reach out to them in order to justify this action. Such a decision should be based on facts and not merely a few people calling her and asking for a change. Making such changes without in-depth research is reckless and shows no forethought. In addition, Councilwoman Arp also stated in a recent email to Councilman Whaley that this council purposely did not change the number of units that could be built in R3 so that affordable housing wouldn't be affected. So why the change now? When this current council was sworn into office in January of 2022, we began work and adopted the Fannin County Joint Comprehensive Plan for 2023 through 2027. One of the major concerns for Blue Ridge was affordable workforce housing. The plan states, although residents benefit from high housing property values, property taxes are high and the city is limited in range of housing, with a lack of long-term rentals, affordable housing, and workforce housing. The changes in R3 are in direct opposition to our comprehensive plan for Blue Ridge. Before making such drastic changes, I recommend a conference with the Northwest Regional Commission to discuss the negative impacts that are possible. The zoning change would affect any future R3 properties with a 30% reduction in multifamily housing. Again, why would we take action that is in direct opposition to our current comprehensive plan? Furthermore, in previous round of zoning changes, the council changed the height in R3 in a capricious and arbitrary manner when all had agreed to change from 45 feet to 35 feet in previous meetings. The change lowered height to 30 feet with no justification. In simple terms, one can build an apartment building at the same height as a single-family home in all other residential zones. This has caused a change in unit density already. The change in high density already reduces the number of units that can be built. Therefore, in accordance with the city charter, I'm vetoing ordinance BR 2023-20. In my opinion, the remainder of the ordinance was well thought out and would have a positive effect on our city. Please consider these important points prior to voting on this veto. Respectfully, Rhonda Haight, Mayor.
Okay, so, council, it's up to you what you do at this point. Does anyone have any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to overturn the mayor's veto of ordinance number 2023-20.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's have a roll call vote. Dr. Whaley?
Now, I want to ask, can we discuss
Mhm.
this? All right.
Yes.
First of all, it seems to imply, and I want to just make this clear to the audience, that the part that was being vetoed was the 7-unit and 10 units. And I know from having discussed this with the city manager that you can't have a line item veto, and the veto therefore applies to the entire work product of 18 months. In your letter, you mentioned the Fannin County Joint Comprehensive Plan for 2023-2027, and you very kindly sent it to me today for my review. It is 194 pages. It was passed by this city council. In the section on Blue Ridge, it specifically states, success of tourism and downtown businesses puts pressure on residential living in Blue Ridge, a town with a small footprint. Blue Ridge has sloping terrain that requires some earth moving and grading to develop, with the potential for sediment movement off-site. The answer to that problem was as follows, and if you go to the website and pull this up, you'll see in green, strengthen zoning ordinances and enforcement of zoning regulations and land development regulations in residential zones to protect residential neighborhoods. That is what this plan that you sent to me says. I said previously, I am of the opinion that we have protected all present landowners who may build 10 units on their property. We have left with the city council, who has to make decisions they don't like from time to time, the ability to look at new owners who come and purchase some of these R3 pieces of property and come to us with a request for 10 units or 15 units, as the case may be, anything, we could grant it if it was a good project. And therefore, since I was asked to vote, I vote for continuing the made and seconded motion as it was originally, as it was ultimately submitted.
Okay, thank you. Angie?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Jack?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay. So veto is overturned. Okay, next item is discussion. Agenda items, I don't think we have anything there. And reports, does anyone have a report? Eric, Chuck, anybody? Okay. So the next section is public comments, and the first one is Russell Black. Are you here, Russell? Nope, he's not here. Okay, I have a list of others. Pam Fink, are you here? Again, when you come up to the microphone, state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pam Fink. Blue Ridge is the heart of Fannin County and the economic engine driving the success of the 25,000-plus residences, businesses, parks, communities, services, social services, and funding that keeps our precious little piece of America where we all want to live. Okay. Elected officials have an enormous responsibility to make decisions that will continue the success and economic viability of your community. The City Council has voted what is voted in by the residents of the city, but that you have a fiduciary responsibility to the entire Fannin County, both businesses in and out of the county as well as residences. By fiduciary, I mean a person or organization that acts on the behalf of another person or persons putting their client's interests above their own, with duty to preserve good faith and trust. Over the past few months, several of your votes or decisions that have been made by this council will pose significant negative impact to the businesses in the city of Blue Ridge, and in turn cause financial harm to the citizens of Blue Ridge. These decisions have been made with little regard to economic impact and potential harm that could happen over the years to follow. As a member of the Blue Ridge Business Association, it is our responsibility to drive economic development to Blue Ridge, support local businesses, and act as their voice, and make sure that the owners understand that they have no voting rights unless they live in the city, but we do pay significant city taxes, and we should be considered. Cesar Martinez is our current president, and he has been our voice to the city council for quite some time now. While the council and editorial articles that have been written have, start over again. While the city council and editorials with others may view his issues presented by him to be an attack on you, they are not. They are simply voicing the citizens of the businesses' concerns for the economic growth and development of this area. It is our democratic duty and the right of a citizen and a taxpayer to voice our concerns. You are not entitled to go unchallenged. Despite not being a resident, we should still be able to have discourse with you. We should be able to ask questions and have them answered. My time is up.
Your time is up, Pam.
I'm a slow reader.
You are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Kim Deutsch? I have a hard time saying your name.
My name's Kim Deutsch.
Deutsch.
I'm going to continue this statement from the Business Association, the Blue Ridge Business Association. It's time to put numbers to these decisions and outline our concerns using the very budget the council operates and spends everyone's hard-earned tax dollars and the contributory dollars from the millions of visitors that Blue Ridge is honored with each year. Based on the decisions the council has made, we will outline several very real negative potential impacts that will occur. The council has voted to decrease the R3 district zoning building height from 45 to 30 feet and propose units per acre from 10 to 7. Actually, it was just passed, I understand. If you approach any business owner, potential workforce, and current family living in Blue Ridge, affordable housing is the most pressing issue they face. Why are these decisions a major concern? Developers need to have a viable economic return for any investment they make. The best way to maximize the cost for return is to limit the footprint of a building and to go up for proper economies of scale. The current zoning and acre proposal goes against this very principle. And you don't have to take our word for this approach. Call or talk to any builder or developer and gain their perspective, and they'll tell you the same thing. The other issue of misconception is affordable workhouse housing. This does not mean government subsidized housing. It means housing that can be provided for our workforce that is viable for teachers, nurses, managers, and staff of our local businesses. There are experts in this area, and the recommendations from the Planning Commission have been clearly and completely ignored. Leadership is about understanding what others may have the best interests, and working to bring out these ideas for the betterment of all is true leadership, and not thinking that you are the only person who knows. From experience, thousands of very successful business owners will tell you that their best ideas come from listening and not telling. Another perfect example of concerning decisions is dissolving of the DDA, which y'all just voted on. The state created this body for the betterment of each community. The intent is to work side by side and outline proper plans and actions to have responsible, controlled growth. To say that the DDA is not in the public interest is not to understand what the DDA is all about. Dr. Whaley, I appreciate your comments earlier. I appreciate that you admitted that you don't fully understand what the DDA is all about, and also that you're willing to take additional training to learn about the DDA. I will also say that I challenge your comment about the last 2 years that the DDA hasn't done anything, because this council has taken away the authority of the DDA. So that's another issue.
Kim, your time is up, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jamie Davis.
And Jamie, do speak into the mic,
Oh,
please.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Thank you.
This council has gone on record to say that they want controlled growth, which is great. That's what the business owners and citizens want as well. However, the decisions that you have made previously do not reflect this. The decisions that you have made will reflect to zero growth, or in reality, negative growth. And while this sounds great to some citizens of the city, however, you don't understand, or my question is, what would happen when your sales tax dollars decrease due to decreased tourism and things like that? And so if you take very conservative numbers and say you have a 10% decrease in your sales taxes from decrease in tourism, you have a conservative, say, 3% increase in city operating budgets throughout the year, you're going to create a budget gap. What's going to happen with that budget gap is you're going to end up with increased property taxes and or additional taxes and fees. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Now, I know that you will say that we're making up numbers or facts and figures, but my question to you is really, show us the impact studies that you have used to make your decisions based on logical budgetary numbers. You know, our numbers are based off of what we've considered to be your current budget, your operating budget. And it shows that a decrease in these numbers will be a decrease in operating, a loss of sales due to decreased tourism, price increases resulting in decreases of tourism, future revenue loss based on inflation and increased operating costs. It'll be lost tax dollars, again, due to decreases in sales, and a variety of other factors. The people and the members represented by the BRBA here have been operating businesses for a very long time. We all understand that any decision you make will have either a positive and or a negative effect. The question is, how do you control both of those? It's through numbers and education. It's through having the information in front of you. It's knowing what your decisions truly will impact in the future. With those proper studies, that is when you have transparent information to your citizens, to your business owners, and everyone else. That's where we're at now. We don't necessarily feel that this council has done that. If you have that information, we would like to see it so that it does impact every citizen here as well as the business owners. I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Lane? Yeah.
I'm a little short, so
You just adjust it as you need to.
thank you. Good evening. My name is Lane Arnold. I live at 1167 East Main Street, inside the city limits of Blue Ridge. I'm also reading in response or in conjunction with the other Business Association board members that spoke this evening on behalf of the BRBA and local businesses of Blue Ridge. The decrease in revenue is just a top-line approach and does not consider every revenue stream that is impacted by decreases in businesses operating and potentially less visitors to our area. The reality is tourism is an economic engine, and decisions that will hurt this industry have potentially massive, far-reaching consequences for all residents of Fannin County. Moreover, the council is considering increasing the licensing fees, resulting in most businesses seeing a 10 to 25% increase. Despite the article published in the Observer stating that Mr. Martinez said 40%, he clearly stated the increase would be between 8 and 40. Our own study and analysis shows these numbers to be true. However, the council has not specified the exact percentage increase, nor did they solicit any input for the businesses paying these fees. They did not consider the revenue sources that will decrease when businesses encounter the increase with raised prices, resulting in a decrease in purchases and therefore a decrease in taxes paid to the city. Businesses have two choices to counter the increase in costs. They can either cut labor or raise prices. Hiring support staff is already a challenge for most businesses. Therefore, an increase in their prices is their only option. Business owners have already been hit with massive inflation costs and squeezing profitability margins, and now the city wants to put even more pressure on them and more burden. We are asking the council to have a true open dialogue with the business community and put forward plans that will have a solid, controlled growth plan to ensure the success of the people paying taxes in the city and investing in the city of Blue Ridge. We have presented tonight a detailed response, outlined legitimate concerns, and asked the council to operate with involvement from everyone that has a vested interest in this city and who also contribute to its funding and operation. Our concerns pointed out here this evening are not an attack on the council, but an invitation, a plea to engage in an open conversation. The goal of the Blue Ridge Business Association is to explore the deficiencies and find economic ways to achieve common objectives.
Thanks, Lane. Your
Do I
time
have
is up.
time?
Your time is up.
Is it up? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll do this one at another meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Brian Avery.
My name's Brian Avery. I live in Fannin County.
Brian, if you want to, please lift it up and we'll,
There you go.
yeah.
Tell you what, I was holding like this. How's that?
And we'll give you a few extra seconds since we took it. Okay.
All right. True leadership, true leaders are humble, respectful, and understanding that there are legitimate concerns, possible consequences, better ideas, and expertise in the community. Any group that believes that they know what's best without truly listening, researching, and taking advice from experts raises serious questions about their ability to make the best decision for all. As stated in the collected thoughts of the Blue Ridge Business Association members, there are serious concerns and significant issues that came from what decisions that you've made today. With that budgetary thing you're talking about, a negative 10% increase, and there will be a decrease. You're talking over a $400,000 deficit to this city. And you can look at the numbers that's in your own budget. But you don't have your numbers because you haven't studied it and you don't know. I have 25 years of experience leading high-level organizations, creating detailed strategic plans, creating revenue goals and expense objectives for Fortune 10 companies. Success is never guaranteed, but failure is certain when comprehensive plans are not made, proper vetting of decisions not dissected, and a deep dive into the very real unintended consequences. For each cause, there is an effect, and to dismiss this is destructive. The City of Blue Ridge is relying upon many funding sources to operate. The county is also relying upon the success of the City of Blue Ridge to achieve its goals. Decisions that harm the local businesses, create hardships on them, reduce the ability to properly staff, and possibly decrease tourism in our beautiful area is real. There are a number of other revenue sources that could potentially see a negative impact from the council's decision. No one knows exactly what will occur, but there are certainly enough major issues that this could occur that warrants a true deep dive into making them. I also operate two businesses, one in Florida and one here. Revenue sources will change, expenses will increase, and in some cases decrease. What doesn't change is the need to measure, adjust, adapt, and find new ways to continue to move forward. The constant is the need to source information from experts and listen to the ideas of the employees. The same holds true for the council, in which you've obviously demonstrated that you do not. The concerns of the citizens of Blue Ridge should be listened to, analyzed, and implemented where possible, but not at the detriment of businesses, the county, and tourists that provide a major part of the funding to operate this city and county. And I will tell you, I've been doing business a long time, and most people have problems trying to figure out where they're going to lunch and everybody you're in. To have everybody here agree on every facet and vote 5-0 or 3-0 on everything shows me that this is a group think and not actual really researching and learning it for your own.
Okay, Caesar, I believe you're next.
I'm Cesar Martinez. Well, coming off of last council members' public comments, I guess I touched a nerve. The News Observer mentioned my name 17 times in the July 19th paper, and in articles and an editorial, none of which were ever fact-checked, or did Glenn ever try to reach me for comment. It would seem that he is happy just to regurgitate what the council wants him to say. Just to talk about a couple things. Eric sent me an email, which he said I was wrong in saying that 40% increase. I didn't say that. If you listen and go back, I said 10 to 40. But I guess that's not as inflammatory enough for you. And if you look, this is what I sent him. This is the increases per license fee. Unless your math is different than mine, there's definitely up to a 40% increase. So evidently nobody seems to care about the truth. And in fact, I guess I should just be happy that Glenn at least printed my name correctly. He hasn't done that in the past 12 years. It would appear that Glenn is in need of an ethics refresher, much like our city council. I'm afraid, Glenn, I'm about to be mean to the council again. During the public comments last council meeting, you all whined about feeling attacked and not being shown respect. You mean like the respect you've shown the Planning Commission, whose member you try to discredit, or how you reject their recommendations because, as have you stated publicly, you don't need input from anyone because you know what's best for the city, or how you attack the housing authority, or how you completely ignore the DDA, even sitting there stone-faced when a member presented a mural design. I think it is the men and women who volunteer their time and their talents as members of these commissions and authorities who deserve the respect. Where I came from, you have to earn respect. You give respect to get respect. By the way, there are 238 DDAs in Georgia. 48% of them, 114, are in communities of less than 5,000 people. You see, it's not that Blue Ridge is too small for a DDA. It's just that this council has too small an imagination, too big an ego, and not interested in educating itself on how a DDA can be an asset to the city. So keep attacking me for the audacity to challenging what you are doing in this city. I'm not
Caesar,
going
your
away.
Your time is up. Sorry.
It's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Blue Ridge deserves better.
Okay, do we have anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, and then we'll get you back. Don and then Mike, and then whoever.
Donna Thompson. I actually had something prepared to read, and I'm not going to do it based off of Dr. Whaley's comments. So I'd like to address that. I was one of the lucky citizen participants that got to participate in the comprehensive plan for 2023 that took place last year. So I would like to correct one thing. Under Blue Ridge Goals, I actually had a copy on my computer, so I'm going to read it. Blue Ridge Goals, it started out number 1 was to ensure visitors to Blue Ridge are welcome, blah, blah, blah. The next one was encourage the development and expansion of businesses and industry. 3, let's see, as designated as an art town. Got that, Caesar? The thing I found interesting about this, you're talking, what you said is true, it's in there. But when you have 194 pages, you have to consider 194 pages. Of course, take the pages that are relevant to Blue Ridge. But it's not just one point that was put in there. There were many points. As a state-designated art town, to continue to preserve and support artistic and cultural development in our community. The last mural that came before you, some of you weren't here. I think you were out, and I think there was one other one out. I think there were only 3 members here. The 3 members sat here. It was an approval based off an ordinance that you approved. The DDA, I think, got it going. It came to you for approval. You approved it. The mural came before you following all the guidelines of that ordinance, and you sat here like, as my mama used to say, a bump on a log, and nobody said anything. Such disrespect you not only showed the DDA, the Arts Center with Nicole presenting it, but also the artist and every citizen in this community that you represent. So let's get down. Number 4 is develop policies. Number 5, we will work to promote an adequate range of safe, affordable, and resource-efficient housing and lodging in Blue Ridge so that members of our workforce can live in the community in which they work and visitors will have a range of accommodations from which to choose. That doesn't exist. The only thing that I know of right now that is pending is Cook Street and West First Street. I think that's the street, at the WHAM development. And those are over $500,000. So I'm going to go through these things. These are evidence from an ORR report that I got, a particular document that was disgusting to read from Angie Arp to Dr. Whaley. Arp said, this council purposefully did not change the number of units that could be built in R3 so affordable housing would not be affected. Another sentence, since we did not reduce the density in R3, the only other option was R2. It's a fact, Angie. This council did change R3 density, and you just overrode the veto, reducing it from 10 units to 7 units per acre. So you did what you said you were not going to do, and then you call somebody else a liar. So I'm trying to figure that out. Here's some other quotes on zoning. Is 3-story apartments and condos and affordable housing, is this small town? That's ARP. ARP. Infrastructure needs taken care of before impacting it by creating more housing. It's a burden. Christy and Angie mentioned 100 acres. Where are those 100 acres of undeveloped property? 1,500 people. Where are the 1,500 people? I asked for your calculations. The city told me it didn't exist. So I'm going to end up with one thing. And this, I just encourage
Donna, your
you.
time is actually up.
I thank the council for showing us who you truly are, especially on these important issues and with regard to how you deal with citizens. There's an election coming up. The 3 on this side are up for election, and I hope that some of our city residents will run. Thank you.
Okay. Mike, do you have something?
I didn't prepare anything. I
That's
normally
fine.
don't, I talk from the cup. When I recently served, Mike Painter, by the
Yeah,
way.
and speak
I'm
it to the
sorry.
mic if you don't mind.
Okay.
So you can
When I
pull
re-
it up.
When I recently served on the city council, I had the opportunity to go into the Georgia's Municipal Association meeting. I attended the DDA section because it was brought to my attention that we had a DDA. I wanted to see what it was about, and our DDA was not funded. I attended the meeting, came back, and after reviewing what the DDA means to the city of Blue Ridge, and there are over 200 DDAs in the state, as Caesar said, the DDA has the ability to get grant money and other money for the city that the city does not have. And a lot of people don't understand that because if you've not studied and researched the DDA, you don't know how powerful it can be to help a growing city. That's on the DDA. Softball tournament, something I started a couple years ago.
This year, the city decided not to fund the softball. We had 4,000 visitors this year for the softball tournament. The softball tournament won't be here next year. It's going to LJ because they will fund it. They'll give them the money that they asked for to bring 4,000 to 5,000 visitors into town. Last thing, if you don't grow, you die. And this city doesn't understand growth, then we're not going to be a city down the road. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone? Okay, that will conclude public comments, and we are needing an executive session. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session? A motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Okay. We will retire to executive session. We should be out pretty quickly.